Before we begin, take a breath. This isn't just a podcast, it's a new way to think, speak, and live in English. Welcome to Coffluent Podcast, where words flow, confidence grows, and every sip brings you closer to fluency.
It really is a whole different mindset, isn't it?
Oh, totally. I mean, so many of you out there are probably convinced, like deeply convinced, that you need to drop $100 a month on native speaking tutors.
Yeah, that it's the absolute only way to actually get fluent.
Right. But today, our mission for this deep dive is to prove why that's, well, not just a massive waste of your hard-earned money, but how it might actually be slowing down your brain's ability to confidently speak.
Which is wild to think about.
Yeah.
Because making that leap from, passively listening to English to actually actively and boldly speaking it, that's the ultimate bottleneck.
It really is the scariest part.
Exactly. You spend months, maybe even years, just absorbing all this vocabulary, nailing down the grammar in your head. But then,
The second you open your mouth, the engine just stalls out.
right, it completely stalls.
So let's kind of set the stage here based on the source material. We know where most of you are starting. In the Coffluent community, you guys build your foundation through these really intensely structured audio courses.
Yeah, you test your skills to figure out your exact level.
Right. And a lot of people, they just jump straight into testing that highly advanced VIP level program.
Yeah.
Because the entry point is just wild.
It really is.
It's literally just $1 to try it out for 10 days.
And, that isn't just a marketing gimmick. It's actually a profound psychological hack.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, when you're learning a language, your brain has this thing called an affective filter.
Okay.
It's basically this emotional barrier that gets created by stress or fear of failure or, and this is a big one, financial anxiety.
Ah, right. Because nobody wants to waste a bunch of money.
Exactly. So by making the entry cost just one single dollar, you completely remove that financial friction.
That makes total sense. Your brain just kind of relaxes.
Right. You aren't freaking out about wasting a massive investment, so you actually absorb the language way better.
So you get in there, and if that VIP level feels like a bit too intense, like you're drowning in advanced vocabulary, you don't just panic and quit.
No, not at all.
You just slide down to the middle intermediate power course. And if that's still too much, you drop to the easier low intermediate original course.
Exactly. The whole goal there is just to establish your baseline. You want to flood your brain with massive amounts of high-quality input.
Right. You're listening to native speakers, absorbing that natural rhythm, just getting all that syntax ingrained into your subconscious.
I like to think of those audio courses as like downloading the operating system into your brain.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. You're building the whole software framework. And this is where so many learners just hit a massive wall. Speaking the language is the actual boot up sequence.
Yeah, because your brain's reservoir is completely full of perfect input, but now you face this towering hurdle of output.
Exactly. How do you physically move your facial muscles, retrieve the words, and make those sounds without just emptying your bank account to hire a professional?
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the financial reality of this transition is honestly pretty brutal. The second people realize they need to practice output, what do? Their reflex is to pull out their credit card.
Yeah.
Every single time.
They flock to tutoring platforms like italki, just assuming they have to hire a professional.
Well, we're all kind of conditioned to believe that expertise has to be purchased,
Oh, absolutely.
So learners end up paying $10, $20, or sometimes upwards of $30 for just a single hour of conversation.
And if you do the math on that, if you're trying to build actual momentum in practice, say twice a week, you are bleeding over $100 a month just to have casual chats.
It's crazy.
It really is. You're spending more in a few weeks of casual Zoom calls than the entire cost of a comprehensive 6 to 8 month audio course. Fluency shouldn't be gated behind this luxury price tag. No, it shouldn't. And beyond just the sheer cost, that financial strain actually triggers that affective filter we were just talking about.
Oh, right. The stress comes rushing back.
Exactly. When the clock is ticking at $30 an hour, every single minute feels incredibly pressured. You feel this intense psychological need to perform perfectly just to justify the expense.
Yeah, you're sitting there thinking, I just paid 50 cents for that silence.
Right. And that pressure absolutely stifles the relaxed, confident state your brain needs to successfully pull up that vocabulary.
So the solution to this, according to our deep dive sources today, bypasses the wallet entirely. You create a free peer-to-peer conversation group, But wait, don't you absolutely need a native speaker to practice with, or else you'll just learn bad habits?
What's fascinating here is how deeply ingrained that myth really is. It comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of how the brain maps language.
Okay, lay it on me.
We have to violently separate the concepts of input and output. You absolutely do perfect native level input.
Right.
But here's the thing, you're already getting that.
Oh, right. Through the audio courses.
Exactly. You're downloading it daily from podcasts, movies, your Coffluent courses. Your auditory cortex has already mapped the correct native sounds and structures.
So if I'm hearing you right, the goal of the peer group isn't to learn new words or perfect my accent at all. It's almost like a gym where I'm just stress testing the muscles I already built during the input phase.
That is a brilliant way to look at it. The peer group's purpose is exclusively output.
Wow.
It's the physical neurological friction of searching your brain for the right word in real time, stringing those words together and pushing past that social anxiety of being looked at while you speak.
So the cognitive effort required to retrieve, I don't know, the word umbrella from your memory, it's exactly the same whether the person on the screen is from London or Lima.
100%. You don't need to rent a native speaker's brain because you already own the native input. You literally just need a sparring partner to practice throwing punches.
That's incredibly freeing.
No.
But the moment you realize you just need a group of peers, you run into this brutal supply and demand problem.
Oh, yeah. You start looking for the good groups, and you realize very quickly that the landscape is incredibly crowded.
Right. Our source highlights this legendary example. This group organized by a learner named Carol from France. Everyone calls it the Superstar Group.
Yeah, the famous superstar group.
It's this incredibly active, deeply committed, global phenomenon. You've got Carol logging in from France, an Iranian learner joining from America, people from all over the planet. Hearing about it, you immediately want in. It sounds like the VIP lounge of English practice.
But Carol's group is completely full. She caps the membership to protect the group's dynamic.
And this full capacity reality is where learners tumble straight into the passive learner trap, right?
Yes, unfortunately. They discover the superstar group is closed. So what's their immediate response?
They go to a message board.
Exactly. They go to community message boards or social media, and they post a message saying, I want to join a group. Can someone please invite me?
It's like standing at the edge of the dance floor waiting to be asked to dance while the song is already halfway over. You have to start your own dance circle.
That is spot on. The psychology of that passive approach is completely rooted in the fear of leadership.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, those community boards suffer from this massive digital bystander effect.
Right. Everyone's just waiting around.
Exactly. Everyone is waiting to be invited, so nobody is doing the inviting. The people running the successful group don't know you. They aren't trying to be exclusive or mean. They're just exhausted from managing their own members.
So to get the benefits of a superstar group, you have to become the person who initiates.
You do. So instead of posting, please invite me, you flip the script. You go to that same forum and you declare, I am starting a conversation group. Reply to this thread if you want to join.
You just become the host.
Yes. And we really need to destroy the myth of scale here too.
What do you mean?
People hesitate to start a group because they think they need like 10 highly active people to make it legitimate. You absolutely do not.
Oh, for sure.
If you post that message and just one single person replies, you have a group. Even just 2 or 3 people is a massive success.
Right. Start small. Establish the rhythm.
Exactly. And as you spot other dedicated learners in the community over the coming months, you can cherry pick them and invite them into your circle.
Okay, I love that proactive energy. So let's say you've braved the dance floor. You posted the message, you gathered 3 enthusiastic peers from totally different continents, and you've all agreed to jump on a Zoom call next Tuesday.
Now we hit the operational reality.
Right. Because we have all been part of a group project or a book club that starts with this explosive energy and then quietly dies after 2 incredibly awkward meetings.
Oh, yeah. Groups fail because humans naturally default to looseness.
Right.
If you're having coffee one-on-one with a close friend, the conversation flows organically. But the moment you scale a digital room to 4, 5, or 8 strangers, the social dynamics fracture.
You cannot survive without structure.
Exactly. You need a rigid structure.
And the source material argues that this structure has to begin with something called the code, right? It's this shared ethical foundation that everyone has to explicitly agree to before they even get the meeting link.
Yep. It's essentially a 3-part code.
Right. So number 1, we do the best we can. Number 2, we do the right thing, meaning no lying, no stealing, basically just being a decent human being. And number 3, we show each other we care, actively encouraging each other.
Now, I know it might sound a bit elementary, almost like a kindergarten rule
But
set,
a little bit, yeah.
but establishing that code up front acts as a critical cultural filter. When every new member explicitly agrees to those 3 rules, you are engineering a psychological safe space.
You're preemptively telling their brain, hey, nobody here is going to laugh at your accent. Mistakes are totally expected.
Precisely. It calms the amygdala.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because right alongside this warm, fuzzy, supportive code, Carol, the organizer of that famous superstar group, enforces a rule that is brilliantly ruthless.
Oh, it's so good.
Let's call it the Fight Club rule. If it's your first night at Fight Club, you have to fight. In Carol's group, if you log in, you have to speak. If you don't participate, you get kicked out. Isn't that a bit harsh for a friendly language club?
I completely understand why it feels paradoxical, especially right after we talked about safe spaces.
Yeah.
But it is the single most important rule a language group can implement.
Really? Why?
We have to look at the neurochemistry of anxiety and decision fatigue. The rule isn't mean, it is profoundly protective.
Protective? How so?
Well, picture a digital room full of strangers. Speaking a foreign language naturally induces a mild stress response.
Right, you're nervous.
If there is no rule-forcing participation, the brain naturally looks for the easiest escape route from that stress, which is staying muted.
Ah, the digital freeze response. Everyone just sits there staring at their webcams, waiting for someone else to sacrifice themselves and break the ice.
Exactly. The bystander effect takes over,
Yeah.
and the group just collapses. By making speaking absolutely mandatory, Carol is actually removing the cognitive burden of deciding whether to speak.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, decision fatigue, combined with language anxiety, completely paralyzes the brain. When you know you will be kicked out if you stay silent, the choice is removed.
So the brain stops agonizing over whether to unmute and redirects all that energy into just finding the English words.
Precisely. By forcing the shy person into the spotlight, you are ironically rescuing them from their own anxiety. You give them permission to be messy and slow because everyone knows they literally have to talk.
That is genius.
It really is. You're protecting the utility of the group because if a learner just wants to sit silently and absorb English, they should honestly log off and go listen to an audio course by themselves.
Right. The live group is for the friction of output.
Exactly. And this rule extends to attendance too. If someone is constantly skipping the scheduled meetings, they are siphoning energy from the group. You have to be willing to cut them.
You have to protect the people who actually show up ready to do the heavy lifting.
Exactly.
Okay, so tough love saves the group. I'm with you. But that brings up a massive logistical nightmare. You enforce the Fight Club rule. Everyone unmutes their microphones. They know they have to speak or they get kicked out. But what if they genuinely, literally do not know what to say?
This is the exact moment where unstructured groups meet their demise. Sending out a calendar invite with the description, "Let's meet and chat in English," is a recipe for absolute disaster.
Imagine logging into a Zoom call with 5 strangers. If the host just says go, you'd freeze. But if they ask, what did you think of the villain in chapter 3? Suddenly you have a lifeline. You have a very specific target to aim your brain at.
And this perfectly illustrates cognitive load theory. Speaking a foreign language demands an outrageous amount of working memory. Your brain is a massive bottleneck in that moment.
Yeah.
You're simultaneously trying to invent an original thought, translate that concept into a second language, apply the correct grammatical structures, and physically contort your mouth to pronounce totally unfamiliar sounds.
Just listening to that list makes me exhausted. It's like trying to juggle chainsaws while solving a math problem.
It truly is, which is why you must provide cognitive scaffolding. You assign a highly specific topic before the meeting.
Like a book club where everyone reads one specific chapter.
Exactly. Or a movie club, or a YouTube video club where everyone watches the same 10-minute video and answers specific questions about it. When you do this, you drastically reduce the cognitive load.
Because the what to say is already preloaded into their working memory.
Precisely. The vocabulary related to that specific video or chapter is already fresh at the top of their mind. They don't have to invent a conversational thread from thin air.
Their brain is freed from the burden of content creation.
Right, which allows it to focus almost entirely on the mechanical action of retrieving the English words and speaking them aloud.
You narrow the infinite universe of possible conversations down to a manageable, scaffolded box.
Exactly.
And the source makes a great point that consistency is the glue holding that box together. You don't just meet whenever people feel like it. You lock in a predictable schedule. Every Monday night at 8 p.m. or the first Saturday of the month.
Because rituals bypass motivation.
Hmm.
When the schedule is predictable, the brain subconsciously begins preparing for it. You know that Thursday night is output night.
Right. It becomes an ingrained habit rather than this massive scheduled event you have to hype yourself up for.
Exactly.
All right, let's look at the incredible trajectory we've mapped out here. You've done the deep work of input with your courses.
Yeah.
You've bypassed the expensive tutoring platforms. You've proactively stood up on the community board and gathered your peers.
Yep.
You've laid down the ethical code. You've enforced the Fight Club rule to protect the group's energy. You've preloaded the cognitive scaffolding with a great book. And you meet every single week like clockwork.
You've engineered the perfect environment for language output.
So, what does this all mean? When we look at Carol's superstar group, they haven't just been meeting for a few weeks. They have been meeting continuously for over a year.
Over a year. That's incredible consistency.
It really is. What is the ultimate payoff for all this intense structure and effort? Because it has to be more than just passing a grammar test.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the payoff transcends language acquisition entirely. Think about what is actually happening in that Zoom room after a year.
They're actually connecting.
Right. You have a learner in France, a learner in Iran, a learner in America. They aren't just reciting vocabulary anymore. They share inside jokes. They debate the nuances of their respective cultures.
They're supporting each other through major life changes.
Exactly.
So a tactical, almost cynical strategy to save $20 an hour on a tutoring website actually morphs into the creation of a profound global community. You set out to build a cheap practice mechanism, and you end up building a network of international friends.
It is the beautiful, unintended consequence of peer-to-peer learning. Fluency is highly valuable in the marketplace, yes, but it is infinitely more valuable when it serves human connection.
Absolutely.
The confidence these learners are gaining isn't just linguistic. It's not just the confidence to use the past perfect tense without stuttering.
Right, it's social confidence. It's the realization that your voice carries weight and your thoughts can be understood by anyone, literally anywhere in the world. English stops being a textbook subject and becomes a master key to the planet.
That is the ultimate leap we talked about at the very beginning.
Yeah.
From passively absorbing a language to actively living in it.
I love that so much. Let's bring it all together and recap the roadmap so you can start building this today. First, test your input level. Find your absolute foundation with the right Coffluent audio course.
Yep, get that baseline.
Second, protect your wallet. Internalize the fact that you don't need a native speaker to practice your output. You just need the friction of speaking. Third, shatter the passive learner trap. Step off the wall of the dance floor, be the proactive leader and announce, I am starting a group.
Take charge.
Fourth, establish the Fight Club rule. Make speaking mandatory to eliminate decision fatigue and save the group. Fifth, destroy the awkward silence by anchoring your meetings with a shared book or movie to lower the cognitive load. And finally, watch as a mechanical language exercise blossoms into genuine international friendships.
It is a totally accessible, highly actionable path, and to leave you with something to really chew on as you go about the rest of your day.
Let's hear it.
Think about your absolute favorite book or movie, the one you could talk about for hours in your native language. If you were to start your own conversation group tonight, how would you summarize why you love it to a group of strangers halfway across the world in English?
Oh, that is the real challenge right there. Start mapping that out in your head right now. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. Remember to take a breath, take action, and whatever you do, keep the words flowing. We'll catch you on the next one.